In this video, I want to address the topic of what if I want to be successful and it's not happening right now. It's not occurring and I don't see it occurring in the next few years. And I see all these people on the internet, on social media, who are making it big, whether it's on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and they're so young and they're so successful and wealthy and rich and seemingly happy. Well, here's the answer to this question. First off, realize that a lot of real success takes time and patience. And those rare occurrences, those are 1 in 1,000 people who get this, seemingly overnight success, which wasn't even overnight to begin with. I would say overnight success, it probably very, very rarely exists. There's more so a lot of people who have worked really hard to achieve it. Now, some say that, oh, it's all luck. And if you're born into the right circumstance and you're given the right books and resources, you will succeed. And I think there's a part of it that's true. I mean, Bill Gates did get access to the first computer in the entire country at a very young age. But at the same time, there's a lot of your own persistence and perseverance and willpower that goes into the picture. And Steve Harvey is someone who addresses all these issues. He is one of the many representatives, and I'm going to go through multiple other celebrities and successful people who took many years to succeed. And he's a great example because this man, he dropped out of college. He spent 7, 8, a lot of years just working a factory job, working minimal wage, unhappy about life. His life dream was to become a comedian, but it didn't happen because he thought it wasn't practical. Like many before him, he thought it wasn't practical, so he had this factory job he hated. And his friend, Arsenio Hall, had the same dream, but he went off and succeeded. And so years later, he was watching TV and he saw Arsenio Hall succeeding, having his own TV show, enjoying his life. And that spurred him because he started asking, what did this guy do that made him succeed? How was he able to do this? There's something within him when I knew that guy, because he was good friends with this person. And there's this inner drive that spurred this guy to succeed. And long story short, Steve Harvey did the same thing. Now, it took years and years, and I think this is a great segue to a bunch of other examples. I mean, as far as, let's just stick with the actor and celebrity world, but I want to branch out because it spans beyond that. So there's Harrison Ford. This guy's been Indiana Jones, Star Wars, all this stuff. He had a real job as a carpenter for many years, and it took him over a decade of working on acting on the side. And now he's this huge success. It took him so long to succeed, but he finally did it. And now it's kind of the flip side, where if you've ever seen any interviews with him, he kind of hates fame. He doesn't like being famous. But that's another story for another day, another issue for another day. The point is, there's perseverance involved. Let's look at some other very famous actors. George Clooney, one of the most famous actors ever. A lot of women swoon over this person. He's probably one of the most addressed handsome cliches, other than maybe Brad Pitt. This guy, if you actually study his history, this guy was literally, he spent 10 plus years hustling. I mean, he finally got his first big break after 10 plus years of hustling by choosing to dial on his own time a number that would schedule an audition for this new role that he really wanted to take part in. So you can see that this stuff did not happen overnight, and there's numerous other examples in the acting world as well. Morgan Freeman, this man, he did not get his first big acting role until like his late 40s, I believe. And that's hard for some people to believe. And I think this is a common issue, but I think nowadays it's heightened even more. I know this has been an issue 40, 50 years ago because I've seen accounts of it. But young people, they easily give up. Nowadays, it's overly heightened because you have all these people on Instagram and elsewhere who appear to be overnight successes, and you get jealous or angry or envious, and that's not actually the real situation. I mean, sure, there are those who luck out, but for the majority of people, I think it takes time, it takes perseverance and patience. And ultimately, the deeper lesson, a lesson that I try to add into most of my videos, is that, you know, be happy first, and then the happiness will make you more successful. A lot of people think, oh, until I get successful, I can't be happy. And that will screw you over in a lot of ways. Again, there's a lot of science behind this. And in this video, I'm not going to plug any books because I've plugged numerous books and experiments and studies in previous videos on those topics. However, it's an incredible book, and there's this incredible book I have to plug, which is The How of Happiness, that goes into detail on the science of happiness. And what you'll find is that a good portion of it's genetic. It's not if you get a mansion or you make $1 million. And then another portion of it has nothing to do with fame and money and so forth. So keep those things in mind. Do not let those things bother you. And I mean, you just have to meet some poor people who are happy. There's plenty out there. There's plenty who aren't, but there's plenty who are. To just keep things in perspective and grounded. And ultimately, remember that the long run matters more. So, you know, some of these overnight successes, they're one-hit wonders, and they die out, they flame out, as you've probably seen. I mean, there's tons of people like this, Aaron Carter, Bow Wow. They're all great people, but it's a very, very competitive world when you look at the graveyard of people who failed or succeeded and failed. And the message of this isn't necessarily for you to persevere constantly and just keep going at it. You can if that's really what you're passionate about and it lights you up even if you don't make it and you're constantly looking to get better. I think for that, you know, for someone like that, they don't care if they get rich or poor, they love it, and that type of motivation and drive might just let them succeed. But there's other people who I also know. I recently watched this TED Talk about this woman who was on Broadway, and she was against this follow your passion ideology because she spent over 10 plus years after college pursuing Broadway and never succeeding, and then finally, you know, realizing this isn't practical and ending up finding more enjoyable work outside of that. So her whole message was that sometimes you can find work outside of your constrained beliefs. But I think what you should do is, if you really find something you're interested in, have patience, persevere, keep focused, and follow through. And, you know, even if it doesn't fully work out, I mean, I'm sure there's people out there who have spent 50 plus years pursuing something and then they still didn't succeed. But if you have the right intentions, you'll be happy nonetheless, regardless of it. And that type of motivation, a motivator beyond just money or fame, might be able to push you to persevere beyond those who quit early, which will make you succeed. And I think that's huge because, I mean, let's just be frank. Most people, they will drop out at some point, within a year, within 3 years, within 5 years. And so, you know, don't let those viral internet stories of overnight success make you give up. And I think nowadays in the modern world, it will happen more and more. However, on top of that, realize that, you know, because it's pushing more and more people to give up earlier, you may be able to persevere for longer. Of course, there's multiple other elements to success involved that will increase your chances or decrease them. One of them is if you're actually practically good, not based off your own bias or perspective, but the fact that you actually have some potential there based off